Part 3 of the inventory analysis and procurement deals with the second scenario of replenishing our inventory for the truck that we use to do on-site and delivery sales. On the inventory analysis and procurement screen, I'm going to actually I've already changed the warehouse from main to truck, and the rest of the options I'm going to leave the way that they are. I have the inventory procurement option selected. I'm going to click OK to create the inventory procurement batch. It does use some of the other information on this screen to calculate things like the acceleration. And now it automatically brings me into the inventory procurement maintenance screen, which you can also access from the inventory control module and the menu option inventory procurement maintenance. Hence, that's why these two features are combined in one video clip. Once you're in the inventory procurement maintenance screen, you should select which source you're going to use to procure or replenish your inventory. In this case, we're going to get it from the main warehouse. We're going to leave the warehouse selected, and by default it comes up as main. We're going to go ahead and select the batch that we just created. And you see it gives us a message saying one product or products are transferring more than what is on hand in the warehouse selected. Well, that basically means that if you look at the item that has the quantity highlighted in red, it shows the source column, which the source column relates to the units on hand in the warehouse that we're going to be getting the goods from. It indicates that it has actually a -2 on hand, and we're looking to get 120. Currently in our target warehouse, which is the truck, we have 30 on hand. You may be wondering why you could have a -2. Well, we may have actually received some goods in the warehouse today but have not yet received the purchase order in the computer. So when that purchase order is received, it will in fact increment the -2 to what it should be. Okay, so now at this point what we do is we review this. Certainly any guy that's in red, we can either leave it like that as 120 and see what the guys in the warehouse can dig up, or we can edit it down to 0 or whatever we'd like. Take notice, however, that it unchecks the include checkbox, which basically means that it's not going to include this item in the transfer unless we go over to it and make an entry for it, because clearly there's not enough in the system in the main warehouse to accommodate that. So we're just going to leave that for now. And now the next thing that you may want to consider doing is where it says hide 0 quantity products, you can uncheck that so that if there are any products that had a 0 quantity which you wanted to pick and put on your truck, you can go ahead and override it at this time. Obviously there are none here, so we'll go ahead and we'll print the checklist. And the checklist is basically a pick list to pick the items from the main warehouse so we can load it into our truck. If the truck was not, if the second warehouse was not a truck and it was a truck in another city or state, we can simply pick it to be shipped. In either case, when it prints out the inventory procurement checklist, what it does is it sorts it according to bin. So this is the first item is for bin A, and then bin C, and then bin D, and you have the ability to write down how many you actually pick from the main warehouse, and then write it on the sheet along with any comments if you'd like. Once that is finished, you can go ahead and enter in the quantities that were entered right on the quantity screen here. And let's say, for example, over here they didn't pick 28, they only picked 20. We can go ahead and type in 20. On the next item, they picked all 40. On the item that we were short and didn't have any in, they actually did have some in, but they had a limited amount, and they only picked 10. And notice when I go down, it's going to change that checkbox over here to include it. So now it will be included. It's asking for 50 on those. We picked those, and we'll just accept the rest, thinking that we had picked all those guys. Once we're ready, we can go ahead and we can click the process. And it says you want to process the inventory items now. We say yes. And process is complete. And now it has just transferred all those items from the main warehouse to the truck warehouse. And if we go into the inventory transfer report, we can actually take a look and see what it had done. And I'm going to go ahead and just click print. Incidentally, we had other transfers today that I had done previously. So this report might be a little bit difficult to read, but if you look at the last entry for each item, you'll see that those are the ones that we had done today. For example, STPL 101, we just put in the 20 right there, and it shows you from and to. On the STPL 102, you can see we put in the 40, and so forth. And so these are all the quantities that we had accepted in the last batch we just had done, along with 2 previous batches I had done to prepare for this video. We can go ahead and close out this inventory transfers report, and we can also close out this screen. And one last point to make out is if we were to regenerate the inventory procurement for the truck after we transferred and replenished it based upon the reorder points, for the most part, any of the items that we replenished in full, it should not come up again on this report. And so it just regenerated a new batch. I'm in the inventory procurement maintenance screen now, and I'm going to go ahead and select it. Let's see what it has for us. Okay, again it gives us that message. So before, for the item in question, it had 120. We replenished 10, so now it says we only need 110. On the first item, remember I had edited it down by 8, so now it's including that 8 there as well. And lastly, the same case, same is true for the item for number for this item here. Well, actually, if you notice, it has a target of 24, and we want to. It's suggesting we pick 12, and so on this particular item, if we take a look at the inventory control, we go down to location maintenance. That's the 502 item. Let's look at 502. You can see the reason why that guy came up again is because instead of having a reorder quantity of 0, we actually have entered in there reorder quantity of 12. So when we replenished 12 units last time, that still was not enough to bring it up to the reorder point of 25. So if we want to avoid that, we'd want to zero this reorder quantity out to 0, and then when it replenishes, it will actually calculate the replenishment amount. So all those guys are correct, and you know, we can go ahead and process another one if we'd like, or we can wait till next week or whenever it makes sense for us. So that now concludes the part 3 of the inventory procurement analysis and maintenance features.